Hello, everybody. It's exciting to see you. I know you're busy with the end of the year and testing and all the fun things that are going on. And then along with that, waiting for the grant to come out, the RFA to be released, and then hopefully go on a summer vacation. Today, we have a packed agenda to go over some business items. That's why it is required that everybody is here today that has a grant. Please make sure you put your name and your association in the chat room so we have verification that you were here. We're going to start at 3:31. Give everybody 1 minute to get in the waiting room. All right, looks like we're good to go. So the first thing we want to talk about, and this will not apply to everybody, but will apply to a large number of you, are cash advances. We will not be approving any cash advances from this point on out with the current cohorts. Just to give you a little bit of background, just like you guys have an audit, we had an audit, a company come in and look at our procedures and the things we're doing. And these are the recommendations that they sent per the guidelines in the federal law. So if you have questions about that, feel free to call us. You can call us anytime about anything, obviously, but no more cash advances that mostly apply to the CBOs, non-LEAs. But if you have questions, just give us a call so we can go through it with you further. The other thing we want to look into is timely reporting for our expense reports. It is very important that we get these in. So as of today, expense reports must be in 30 days after the end of the month. So once again, 30 days. We know this is going to be taxing on some of you. We're here to help you. TAs are here to help you. We have tons of resources, but we've got to get this in order. A couple other things. We're going to have Erica take it now and talk about some of the new things going on with GAPR.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So remember, we have the new GAPR stuff, and we had a lot of new implementation with Easy Report. A lot of people have asked, how are we going to do the GPAs? That is still a ways away. But if you are a high school 21st century program, then we're just going to ask that you pull the GPA from Power School and actually put it into Easy Report. I'll have more instructions on this once Easy Report builds it into the platform. And it'll be in my Friday emails, but high schools, you're going to put the GPAs. Middle schools, we're going to figure out how to help you calculate a GPA based on your math and your reading grades for your students. So we're trying to make it a little simpler. So if you can't figure it out, then we're going to help you do it. We're going to create a spreadsheet to make that happen because we don't have that many middle school programs, but for high school, which is the majority of who we're talking about, you'll pull that from Power School and put it into Easy Report. No, remember, Power School will not pull GPA straight out of, straight into Easy Report for you. So that's pretty much the updates for right now. And again, I'll let you know the specifics in my Friday email.
Thank you, Erica. Do you have anything on the website as far as the updates you're doing with our website? Anything going on there you want to share?
It should be up and running. I'm supposed to get a preview by next week. But we're changing around some things, moving some things to make it a little bit more easy to access so you know exactly where it is. If you are looking for a document and you do not see it on the website though, and that's alabama21cclc.org, let me know because it's probably either I haven't received the document or it's just a forgotten about thing, but it can be easily added to the website. We want all of our resources for our 21st century grantees to be on that one website for you to see. So it's soon to have an update, but the documents that you need should be on there. And if you don't have it on there so far, let me know and we can add it.
Thank you. And if anybody has any kind of suggestions or needs or more resources, anything with the website that we can do better to serve you and work with Erica and her group at TPI, please let us know. I mean, we're here to serve you and to make this process easy for you through things. So just send me an email, Camille, Elisa, your TA, whoever it may be, and we'll try to get on that. Summer field trips, Alicia.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm just going to do a quick overview with expected field trips. We're starting to get them in, and we just want to make you aware of some things. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you all see?
No, ma'am.
You can't. You're not. That's not.
You click the share your screen green button.
Now, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so we want to talk about just some of the guidelines today as a refresher. Also, we want to talk about what are there are field trips that have already been approved. We also want to talk about that there are required lesson plans that come along with field trips, as well as the field trip submission log. And I do want to reiterate with you all to make sure you understand that even if you choose a field trip from the approved field trip list, you are still responsible for making sure that lesson plans and the field trip submission log is submitted all at one time. We need them to come in one package. And so I'm going to pause it here. I'm going to share. So let's just review quickly the 21st century's field trip guidelines. And the things I've highlighted in yellow are the things that are particular that
That's not showing up.
that's not showing up.
No, that screen isn't up yet.
Slide that you're using, it's only one slide. Maybe you opened the wrong one.
Do you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry about that, y'all. Okay, so just want to we want to look particularly at things in yellow, but remember that field trips should be connected to an academic or enrichment program. And we want to document how the field trips are being linked to academic learning. And we also want to talk about meeting the program's goal that is outlined already in your after-school program. So during the regular school year, we know that field trips are permitted once, excuse me, a field trip is permitted per semester. For example, August to December and January through May. But when we get into the summer months, you can have one field trip per week. That is permitted. But remember, field trips are defined as any time you leave the site, whether it's walking or riding with students. And then we want to make sure that those activities are before or after regular school hours, during the regular school year, during school breaks and summer periods, which is mostly what we really want to talk about with you all today. When you go back into this particular document, it's also going to tell you some things to include with that. But we want to make sure that that we pay careful attention to the trip selection, the pre-visit preparation, the follow-up activities as it relates to the overall goals, the objectives and strategies. And this information is found on your lesson plan. So here on your, when you're planning for your field trip, these are some things that you want to make sure that you do, that you have a purpose, that it relates to the curriculum or activity. Like I said, include objectives and goals and refers to our Alabama state standards. Make sure that the students have had prior knowledge of what they're going to participate in, want to have a follow-up activity. It has to be more than just a discussion when we're doing our field trips. And we also want to have develop a budget. And we want to make sure you have an itinerary, have a timeline for the day, any stops or activities throughout the whole entire time while the students are off campus attending the activity. We want to make sure that you have permission slips, parent letter, and that explains the purpose and details, and make sure you have, this is a very key, because a lot of times, and we're starting to receive field trips. We're receiving everything, but we're not getting signatures, and therefore we're not able to approve those field trips. So make sure that you have obtained permission from the school system and the principal is aware of the trip if you are an LEA, okay? Want to make sure that you are well aware that usually field trips have to be done by May 15th, but you need to submit them by May 30th. That's the change that we've made. We also want you to make sure that you understand that those of you who do not have a TA, we know we're short of TAs, that you can email your information to me, Camille, or to the 21st Century email that we have set up, and we will get that information. And I want to stick a pin in right here to make sure that you all understand on our end, there has been a mix up with the email, and we just learned that yesterday. So we're going through, Camille is going through right now, looking at quite a bit of email that needs to be addressed. And so we're working on that as quickly as possible, but we were not made aware of that until yesterday. So we've gotten some field trips through that link to that email address, and we have been approving or submitting information to let you know what is needed in addition. But once again, the date has changed to May 30th. So have you all ever seen the pre-approved list before? Can you see that?
Yeah, you're on page 2.
Okay. So the pre-approved field trips, that means that we have already approved it from the state of Alabama. So you can go through this list as well. We already have it for you. You can look through here to see if there's anything that you feel like will meet your site's needs. But we do want you to understand, once again, that all the documents that are needed for field trips, just because it's on the approved field trip list does not mean that it does not warrant that information. You must have that information with you. In addition, can you all see that this is the lesson plan? Okay. So Camille, can y'all see the lesson plan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So on the lesson plan, the things that are highlighted in yellow are some of the items that have been left off in the past. I just wanted to bring it to your attention. But please make sure that every component in every box is completely filled out. And remember, when you are including your learning standards, that the grades that are going to be attending the field trip, each grade level must be inclusive as to the standard for that field trip. And so this information must be turned in along with the summer field trip submission log. So all of this information must be completed. The difference between the LEA and the CBO is that LEA would need to have the superintendent or designee to sign and provide a title, as well as the principal's signature as well. But if this is a CBO, you would only need to have the executive director to complete this information, unless, and Camille, if I'm correct, unless one of the a school building is housing.
That's correct.
Okay, so if the school building is housing the summer program and it's up under the CBO, then you need to have the principal sign it aware, because the rationale for this is that we want to make sure that everybody is fully aware of who all is going to when the students are on and off of their campus. So make sure all of this is completed. So once again, you've got May 30th, your information needs to be submitted. You need to make sure that you have thoroughly completed your lesson plans, that you have also completed your and submitted your summer field trip submission log. All of that must go together in order for us to approve it. If we get it in chunks, one piece here and one piece there, then unfortunately we will send an email or communicate to you, letting you know that we're unable to accept it at this time because we're missing all of the information.
Thank you, Elisa. If you have any questions, like I said, we're here to serve you. We're here for you. Erica, we have people everywhere, our TAs that are here to help you. So just get in touch with us, give us a call. If you've sent an email to that 21st mystery box that now Camila's going through so diligently, and haven't received a response, just give us a call, send us a text, and we'll be right there for you. At this time, we're going to talk just a moment about the RFA. It's like Christmas. We're waiting for Christmas for the present to get here, but we feel like we're this close from the last conversations we've had. But just to let you know, right now, your needs assessment, having all your meetings, your planning, talking to your TAs, talking to your LEAs, everybody in your community, getting everything together and starting to put that into a Word document will help you once we release it. When we release it, you will get an alert. And of course, we will have our informational meetings and our trainings to go along with it. But look for that coming out soon. I promise. I promise. Now we're going to talk about closeout from our wonderful TA, Phyllis.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. And this information is for cohort 14. Cohort 14, your grant will be ending on September 30th, 2022. So there's some things you need to do in preparation for the closeout of your grant. And you will be receiving all of this information that I'm going over. First, you will have to complete a closeout form. And on this closeout form, you will provide some information about the date of the final date of the program and the fiscal closing of your program. And then you'll provide a date when your inventory is completed. You have to provide a completed inventory. In addition to completing this closeout form, you also will need to provide a written narrative as to where your documentation will be housed. From the date of closeout, you have to keep your documentation for 5 years, your files. And you will also receive information on where to, more information about the electronic keeping of files and what you would need to do for your files that you have electronically. Now, if you're in an after-school program and after the grant expires, you will have to make a decision about whether you're going to continue an after-school program or not. And you will have to provide a narrative as to whether or not you will continue some type of after-school program. And in that narrative, you will also you have to decide with your equipment. There you have several options. You just can't say we're going to keep it. There's a process you have to go through. If you're going to continue with an after-school program, you can keep your equipment. If not, you have to offer, see if there's another 21st century program within your district and offer them the equipment. Now, they may decide that they don't want it, and they'll provide you a written explanation that the equipment was offered and we've refused the equipment. If they decide to keep the equipment, then you have to complete a transfer form. You will also, the other option is that if there's not another Title 21st Century program in your district that wants that equipment, then as a Title I school, you will get to keep that equipment. So first you have to rule out, you're not doing it after school. Then you have to offer it to another 21st century site within your district. Then if they don't want the equipment, then you get to keep that equipment. But this equipment will remain 21st century equipment. So it's very important. So you'll turn in your inventory and you will have to update your inventory if there's equipment that you have disposed of during this period. you to remove it off of your inventory and not be responsible for it, then you need to follow your district disposal process. So you will also have to turn in at the time of closeout, the district disposal process of equipment. If anything is stolen, you must file a police report, because if not, then you're still responsible for that equipment. And because it's 21st century equipment, that equipment can be checked anytime that you've made a decision to keep it. But it was purchased with 21st century funds. It's 21st century equipment. So now if you're closing out 14, and then if you apply for the grant and you get it for 16, you will still continue that on your inventory. And as you do your inventory, it's done each year, but it's cumulative. And so until you remove it from your inventory through disposal, or if it's stolen, then you're still responsible for it. And you have to be held accountable for that equipment that you keep. So a recap with the closeout process. And again, you will receive all of this information, cohort 14 grantees. You will complete the closeout form. You have to provide a narrative, and it's a two-part narrative. First part, you will notify the State Department where your files will be kept during this 5-year period. The second part of the narrative is about the equipment, whether or not you will continue with an after-school program, or if the equipment will be transferred, or the equipment will be kept at that school. So that's the narrative part. You have to provide your system disposal process and the inventory during closeout. So this is a quick overview of the closeout process, but you will get all of this information again and in greater detail, step by step. And we will also provide you with a checklist so you can check off as you do these things during the closeout to prepare for closeout. And that's closeout in a nutshell.
Phyllis, know from the bottom of our hearts how much we thank you for all you do. And if you don't know, Phyllis is officially retiring. I didn't know if you had any departing words you'd like to add real quickly
Yes.
here.
Yes, and my sites will be receiving a message from me, but I just want to say, I started working with 21st Century when I retired from Baldwin County School System as a central office administrator in January of 2013. I've truly enjoyed working with the site, meeting everyone. I love people. And those that have worked with me, we do a little bit of work, so we do a whole lot of work, and then we do some chit chat, keeping up with everybody. So I'm going to miss you all. And this has been a joy, a great phase in my life. And I'm glad I've had the opportunity to work with you with the 21st Century program.
And now she's going to be a cradle for that granny that's coming through.
True. And some of you know the history with my daughter and my first grandchild. So we are very excited, and it's any day now for the baby. Oh, thank you so much, all of you that's sending those wonderful messages.
And Phyllis, we will miss you. And as everybody knows, we're looking for TAs. When you lose someone of the quality of Phyllis, you need like 3 more people to fill her shoes. And she has prepared Donna and Ellen very well, but we are looking for more. So if you know people that are getting ready to retire, fill out their paperwork, send us an email, send a resume in. There are people out there that can make a huge impact and enjoy it like Phyllis has and like we do. So please keep that word spreading out there. Anybody that says retirement, say, well, you don't want to retire. You're in this because you love kids and you love helping the youth and educators succeed. So you can continue to do that and have a flexible schedule. So please share that with people you know that are retiring. But thank you again, Phyllis. Camille, what about compliance monitoring visits?
Oh, I know you all are all excited for me to talk to you all about this, right? So we've got compliance monitoring coming up for anyone who is part of cohort 14 who have not been monitored during their program. Most of those monitorings will be occurring during the month of June. And I think 95% of you have been contacted and have confirmed an appointment with us. All that we ask is that you make sure that you have done your due diligence on the front end, because it is so much harder to have to find the things that you're missing on the back end and deal with the corrective action that occurs if you are not prepared for your monitoring. If you have any questions about the monitoring process, please reach out to your TA first. If you are a Phyllis person, you're probably already well prepared. If you are without a registered TA, please feel free to reach out to Alicia or I. Again, as we have the mailbox now put together, and or you can send it to our direct email if that works for you, but we will help you walk through that process. Please remember that we are no longer putting accepting paper documents, but everything is going into Cognia, and therefore you should have definitely developed a relationship with your LEA if you're a CBO to ensure that you have your Cognia access. If you are a site coordinator, you should be working with your federal programs people or your program director to make sure that you have access to Cognia to put all of the information in. As you look at that pre-monitoring document, please make sure that you are reviewing it carefully. There are sections where it says upload particular items, and quite often, if it's looking for quarterly documents, we may get one, and there are a minimum of 3 quarters that you will have been able to submit information for or upload information for. So we need to make sure that we are not just meeting the minimum standard or meeting the standard with what we think, but what is actually being asked for in that monitoring document. Additionally, we will be coming out to various sites throughout the summer to just visit programs. We really want to see what you all are doing, those bragging points. We really want to be able to visit with you. For those of you who are going on field trips, we are going to be looking to see what those pre-field trip lessons are or those follow-ups are, so that you are making sure that you're documenting those activities, so that when we come out, if we come out, after the field trip, we'll be looking for that follow-up. If we're coming out before your field trip, we may be looking for the items that you, what you say you were going to complete prior to going on the field trip. So we will be looking for that information. Again, for all of our visits this year, though, we will give you notice so you can make sure that everything is well prepared for us before we arrive. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Did you have anything to add on the TAs, or did I jump over there earlier for you?
No, I would just say that if you've got folks that are retiring, it is particularly for folks who enjoy the after school arena. It is a great opportunity for someone to get back in, to continue to network and to experience programming from a completely different perspective. So we look forward to all of those retirees coming in, or somebody who's just stopped working and has decided that they wanted to work part-time. So those are some opportunities. We look forward to seeing those applications come in.
Thank you. And Phyllis is going to give us some updates from Ellen and Pam. And Phyllis, our TAs.
what was that, Annette?
Do you have any other updates from Ellen and Pam? Do y'all have anything you want to share from the TAs?
I would just add for my people that if you've submitted your field trips requests and information, you will be getting a reply from me before the 15th. I'll take care of all that I have received and will receive before the 15th.
Thank you. Ellen or Pam, do y'all have any updates you want to address?
Well,
No, go ahead.
I just like to say how much we're going to miss Dr. Phil. She is an amazing educator, and while she might not be with us, she's going to be with us in spirit because her true passion is education. And she is passionate about education in the state of Alabama. And I can say that with all certainty, having worked with her for a long, long time. And as she said earlier, and I think Ellen will probably reiterate this too, we're both working just as hard as we can to approve the field trips as they come in. I appreciate all of you. I remember this time of year and it's a crazy time. So thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. There's not been a greater mentor than Phyllis. She has just been there. You know, we can reach out and call her early morning, late at night, and she's going to answer you. So we will definitely miss her. But as Pam said, she'll be there with spirit. And hey, we think we could maybe still reach out and touch you every now and then, particularly when that grandbaby's born. So you guys are doing wonderful. And again, I told some folks earlier, it's sort of like we're all drinking from the fire hydrant right now. It's just fast paced toward the end of school, trying to get these field trips approved. And several questions again have come up and we're trying to get those answered. So we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. I do want to let you know, most of you in your inbox, somewhere in those hundreds of emails, you have a survey that came out from Dr. Laura Hodges and or someone from Troy University related to 21st century. We request, please fill that out. And what does that do? That gives us feedback to turn around and give you feedback and provide you with better services. So the more people that can fill that out, the better data we have on what you need and how we can do it and what we can do from this office with our bosses. So please, please take the time, search for your email box, anything from Troy University. And if you don't find it in there, email me and I will get you the survey. But it's very important for us to be able to serve you to have that survey filled out. Alicia, skill sets.
Hey everyone, so we all know about the skill sets. So we just want to make scholastics, I'm sorry. We just want to make sure that you understand that the directors make sure that if you have any teachers that are going to have access to the dashboard, that you complete that spreadsheet that was sent out earlier this, I think it was last week from Yvette and Annette, and just saying that there is specific information that the program needs in order for teachers to have access to the dashboard. That needs to be sent to Sue Blair once you have completed that. Now, if you have any questions regarding scholastics, then you would need to contact Susan Stone with questions about the program itself. But as far as that spreadsheet is concerned, and making sure your teachers have access to the dashboard, that spreadsheet needs to be fully completed on the spreadsheet that was previously sent out, and it needs to go to Sue Blair.
Thank you. And if y'all have questions on that, just let us know. I do want to give you a quick update about our fall conference. We are revamping what is going on. So we're going to have what's called fall training, have a day virtually and a day that will be in person. And then we're going to have a blowout conference. We're joining with some other partners. I'm going to keep that under wrap until we get it all lined out, where we are going to have one incredible conference in the spring that matches your needs and exactly what you're wanting and the tracks you want. So stay tuned for that, but just know in October, you'll have training. You will not have what's called normally a conference, but it will in the long run. You're going to be very excited about how this all comes together. At this time, I want to get ready for Lindsay. I want to talk to you just a little bit about, I've had 3 phone calls today from principals on how can I braid, how can I blend funds, how can I not lose my 21st century, and I have all this ARC money and this ESSER money. So, you know, how can we make all this work? Because I have this great 21st century program, but there's all these other programs wanting to come in. So Lindsay today is going to talk to you a little bit about what they do in Tuscaloosa. And I have seen this in person and it works very well. So we welcome you, Lindsay.
Good afternoon. I'm going to start by saying I do not consider myself an expert. I think that in Tuscaloosa, we do an awesome job of braiding our funds, but what works for us may not work for your system. So I'm just going to share what we're doing so that hopefully it can give you some ideas, maybe spark some thoughts for you all. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay. Can you guys see? Okay, everybody can see this? Okay. So let me move this. So outcomes for today, you're going to understand the TCS, which is Tuscaloosa City Schools multi-year process. So emphasis on multi-year, like this didn't just start happening with us. It's been a process for us to be able to get to where we're at today on expanding summer learning opportunities through braiding funds. And this also could be after school opportunities. So you could substitute summer for out of school learning opportunities. You'll be able to identify potential funding sources to support after school and summer learning in your district, and then identify potential next steps for your program and district in relation to braiding funding sources. Okay, a little bit about me. This is my 9th year of 21st century, so that is where most all of my experience comes. These are just some fun pictures from across the years of our program. We've been fortunate at Skyland to have 3 grants that I have been able to be a part of. And this is my 5th year of summer learning. I had 2 summers as a director of a program, 1 year as a virtual director. And then last year I was asked to join our district level team to help all the sites with planning their program and making sure that things are how they should be. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about what we do in Tuscaloosa City. So summer learning is one of our core strategies to increasing student performance, student engagement. So our story with summer is going to start with where my story begins with summer, which is summer 2018. So for 2018, we had 5 21st century grants for that year. And that was the bulk of what we were using for summer. So those 5, they were half-day programs, Monday through Thursday, only 21st century funded. We had 1 Tuscaloosa City funded. I don't know exactly what funding source it was. I'm just going to say general fund just to guess at what it probably was. And that was for the entire district, students that were struggling. So kids that needed to be academically, they were behind academically. So that program served all schools at one site. And then we had 1 full day fee-based enrichment site at our magnet school. So all kids from all schools could attend that as well, but there was a price. So basically, I feel like we had our 5 high quality programs that had the great mixture of academics and enrichment. And then we had 2 programs, one that was just academics, one that was just enrichment. So that's our beginning. The next year in 2019, it's when we started moving towards unifying our vision. So we adopted the National Summer Learning Model, which a quick overview of that is basically you have strong academics and strong enrichment, strong partnerships. Really, it's what 21st century programs look like every day and after school. So just a really strong program that's expanded to have the entire day for the summer. So that year is when we started braiding our funds. It didn't look how it looks now. We still had our 5 21st century sites and they had 2 funding sources. So every employee at our 21st century sites that summer had 2 timesheets. So the morning half was on a 21st century timesheet. The second half was on a general fund timesheet. So we didn't have enough funds to support a full day program for all of our sites in 21st century alone, but our district wanted us to have the 5-day a week full day programs. So they supplemented our fundings but we made it more complicated on ourselves by having to do 2 timesheets. But it was a start. We also still had our 2 district sites, which was the 1 academic and 1 enrichment, and that was through a mixture of grading funds and parent fees. Summer 2020 is the summer that we probably don't want to talk about much, so that was virtual. And we had a K-3 program focused on academics. We have in Tuscaloosa funds that are called Elevate funds. They're tax funds that our city allocates for pre-K through 3 academics. So basically those funds are great for Literacy Act grading. Okay, so moving into what you guys want to hear about. So I think a large part of our success comes from our district placing a strong emphasis on summer learning. So this is taken directly from our district strategic plan for 2021 through 2024. So TCS will implement a high quality summer learning program. Our goal is by next summer, at least 70% of all students in elementary grades will participate in a formal summer learning program. Participating students will sustain learning growth made during the prior school year at a minimum and will collectively demonstrate learning gains as measured by state required grade level measurements of student learning. So that's a big task, because summer learning is not necessarily funded. We all on this call have 21st century grants. So most likely all of us have something in place to have some sort of summer learning, but to be able to reach 70% of all students requires far more than 21st century funding alone. In the picture here, you can see this is February of 2020 with our superintendent. He won the ACEA award for Superintendent of the Year. So he is a big part of placing this emphasis on increasing our summer learning and helping us to get the funding that we need to make our programs larger. Okay, so last summer, we implemented a district team for summer learning. The district team is led by Dr. Andrew Maxey, sorry. He is our district's director of strategic initiatives. So he is kind of like our advocate, cheerleader. He's always out on the front lines telling our story. He comes up with the big ideas. I think I was placed on the team to tell him no and to tell him that what will and will not work and that we can't afford things. So I'm more like the person that keeps him in check because he gets really excited and wants to spend all kinds of money. So last summer we had 15 sites. We had 7 that had 21st century grants, 1 ESY program, which is for kids with special needs. We rated different funds from 21st century, Title I, Title III, ESSER, General Fund, Elevate, which is our local tax revenue, and then state funds, which include Literacy Act and special education funds. So those are our main funds that we looked at last summer. We had 1 virtual program last summer that was all ESSER funded. We had all of our programs were full day, 5 days a week, and all sites utilized multiple funding sources. Our total budget for last summer was $1.8 million, which we actually came in under budget, so that was great. But that's what we had allocated for summer from all of these funding sources. And I have on here this is what we had projected. So you'll see that 21st century is a large piece of it, but it's not the biggest piece, and it's not, we actually came in and spent way less than this with 21st century when we added it up. So, so yeah, you guys can see all of this. So 21st century, of course, you follow your grant application, what you've written, what you say you're going to do. For the ALSDE funds, that's the Literacy Act implementation. ESSER 2, we use it for program expansion. So if we need to hire more teachers or if we want to target learning loss, which learning loss and Literacy Act are they can work hand in hand. Materials and supplies for our programs. We had an SEL focus last summer that was ESSER 2 funded. We use our general fund for things like the district leadership team. We had an external evaluator last year and for indirect costs of maintaining our buildings. Our Title I, that's school-based. So Title I money that you see on here is when a school has said, hey, we want to have this program in the summer. I know like this summer we have one high school that has like $15,000 of their Title I money allocated to a program that they're going to run for the summer. So that is looped in with this total cost, because the Title I alone is not enough to run that program at the high school, but that $15,000 that they've put into Title I is what they want to prioritize from their school level. So Title I is, all the Title I funds are dictated by the school. It's the school-driven initiatives with that. And then we did have some Title I carryover last year. We're not going to have that this year, but that was used at non-21st century sites to help their programs be funded. So this is what it looked like at the school that I am the after school, the 21st century director. I'm not the director during the summer, but I do work closely with that director to make sure, or the summer director, to make sure that things are in place. So at our school and at every school that has a 21st century grant, every one of your kids qualifies to be a 21st century kid because your school has a grant. We all know that we wish that we had enough money to serve every kid every day, but we just can't serve every kid every day, but through braiding, you can get closer to it. So the way that we do it at our building, last year we had what's highlighted in yellow. That's what you see as your Literacy Act and your learning loss focus. So that's the morning for them is very heavy academics that meets that requirement for the Literacy Act, and also our ESSER kids that needed more learning loss focus. So all of the kids that are there are not necessarily kids that have the SHRIP plans, but they are kids that needed help to recover learning loss from COVID. So I've got that part highlighted yellow because those kids were not 21st century during that time. So from 7:30 until 11:30, those kids were in a different program, but they would not have been able to tell you that they were in a different program. You know, they were at summer learning with us at Skyland, but their classes look different from the other classes. So if you drop down to the white classes, those are our 21st century kids. So these are the kids that were not targeted for needing additional academic support. They did get additional academics though, because that's what we do. We teach kids. So, but this was more hands-on learning. So more real world cooking and things like that, the math of the cooking, what 21st century looks like. But if you'll notice on this schedule at the top at 12, it's back to white. And that's because on the second half of the day, all kids become part of our 21st century program. So that may look like providers coming in the afternoon. We might be paying providers to 21st century funds. We might have teachers that only work in the afternoon. There's several ways that you could do that, but 21st century does not pay for the yellow piece. That's funded through state funds, ESSER funds, local funds, whatever funds your district may have to pick up that piece of the puzzle. But like I said, from the outside, it looks all the same. And we also had in our building last summer that district-wide ESY program. If you're not familiar with what ESY is, it's extended school year, and kids that are eligible for this program are identified in their IEP. So these are children with special needs who may have may be likely to lose learning over the summer. So they come and receive PT, OT, speech services, just different things to help the children maintain their learning throughout the summer. So that program was not funded through that was not 21st century. That was not, that was basically a separate program, but we were able to house it on our campus and they could utilize child nutrition at the building. It was one less building that they had to open by sharing a building with these other programs. So we were able to condense things into less spaces by sharing the building with this program. And I also put at the bottom, we don't have transportation written into our 21st century grant. So Title I is able to help us with that. Title II is professional learning. You didn't see that necessarily on the screen before because we don't really budget for that. That's kind of done on the front end of summer. All that you saw is what we spent actually during the month of June. Title III, we have ESL tutors that rotate amongst our programs to support our children that are English learners. And they may serve multiple sites. So they're not built into this master schedule because they may only be at our school 1 day a week, but they're able to push in and supplement what is going on in our 21st century program. And we had nurses through ESSER funds. I don't know if anybody's asking questions or if I need to repeat anything. I can't really see what's going on. So if anybody needs to unmute and ask anything, feel free. Okay, so this is our district team that we have for summer. I've already mentioned Dr. Maxey. He's our advocate. I'm pretty much in charge of budgeting and then program development. And then we have Nellie Christian, who is Bryant High School's assistant principal, but she's a former gifted teacher, so she helps with curriculum development. So helping us and our sites know how to do hands-on learning well, project-based learning. So us three began working last summer. And so this is our second summer doing this together. Okay, so I wanted to pull out some key points. You'll see that this starts September 2021 and we're currently at May of 2022. So this is what we've done to prepare for this. So we started in September by meeting with our finance department to discuss last summer, so summer 2021, and to plan for the upcoming year. So this looks at breaking down the budgets, what we've spent, and also looking at what money we have moving forward for this summer. So we start working on our rough draft for the budget in September. In September, we get a good idea of what it's going to be, and then Dr. Maxey presents that budget to the executive staff and the board members for approval. November of 2021, all of our directors are hired and the district level team meets with all departments. So this includes teaching and learning, federal programs, child nutrition, transportation, nurses, social services. Every department that's involved has awareness about what is going on in the summer. By January of this year, sorry, my light just went out and it's okay though. Okay, so by January, we had initial budget projections for all sites. So that is shared out with directors. Our directors do get input on how the money is spent. So they're able to suggest, they come up with their theme, they come up with their field trips, they come up with what vendors they want to use. So we share out the initial projections and have the directors begin working on what they want their program to look like. By March of this year, we had our enrollment completed. And then by April, we finalize our budgets. So finalize how many units you need. If we need to do budget increases, we work with our district to make sure that that's possible. But this is just some key points in our timeline. And if anybody would like to see our overall timeline of how we lay things out across the year, I wouldn't mind sharing that. Just send me an email and I'll whatever. Okay, so these are suggestions. I'm going to start with the one that's in red because it really is the most important. Like I said, I am not an expert. I just ask a lot of questions, and if I don't know, I try to my best to find out and do what's right. Make sure that you coordinate with your federal programs and your finance departments to see what is available. So what funds are available for summer? What are allowable uses for each source? What documentation do you need for each source? It's really easy to mess up and blend funds or make things where you're not able to see the different funding sources, what they should be looking like. So make sure that you coordinate and collaborate with your departments to ensure that you're doing everything like it should be done. So also identify what your district is already doing. So take an inventory amongst your sites to see what's already in place. What programs are running, even like the high school that I mentioned that has the summer program that they fund through Title I, like take an inventory of all of those things. That way you can begin looking at what maybe can be braided together, how you can save some money in different ways. Identify resources and funding sources that already support out of school learning. Right now with ESSER, there's a big push for expanding the day, for summer learning, for after school opportunities. So find out how you can identify those sources and begin documenting those and see if there are ways that you can help the funds to support each other. And probably one of the most important ones too is establish a vision for your district. Like, what does your district want it to look like? Like I said, this is what we do. It may not work in every district, but what will work for your district? You know, get some key people at the table, identify what you're currently doing, what you would like to be doing. And then identify key people for the project. Find people who are passionate about extended learning, out of school time opportunities. And yeah, that, to me, that's a great place to start braiding funds together. It's probably a little bit too late to really do this full scale for the summer, but I think there's still time to put this in place before summer programs start, even if it's a small piece of braiding funds together. And if anybody has any questions, or if I've sparked anything that you're curious about and you think that I could help in any way, please feel free to ask me. This is my contact information. Yeah, are there any questions or anything? Annette, I can't see if anybody's typed anything in the chat box or.
Yeah, so what we'll do, Lindsay, is any questions, we'll put
Mhm.
those together and get them in Erica's newsletter and out with Tracy in the regional meetings, and also, you know, communicate it to everybody because they may not have missed it. So we'll get that out. And thank
Okay.
you for everything. You guys do an excellent job with that. I was talking to Dr. Andrew Maxey the other day, and we were talking about staffing because that is a huge challenge, you know, pay wise, and then
Mhm.
well, if they really want to work. And I said, you know, when I was younger, if you'd have said, hey, it's summertime now, I want you to come in at 7:30, I'd have probably been like, I'm out. But if you said to me, hey, you want to come in at 3:30 and run, you know, our after school program or our out of school time or 21st century, I'd have been chips in because the day, you know, I'd had time to go to the pool and work out and do everything I wanted to do that day. So I encourage everybody really to think outside the box on different ways you can service the kids. You have parents that work double and triple shifts that need some help too. And those kids would have the opportunity to learn through those programs. I do want to touch too on ways that I think of braiding. When I think of braiding, I think of a salad. You're going to eat it, but you can see all the parts. You can see the lettuce, the tomato, you know, cheese, whatever you have in there. But if you take all that and put it in a blender, all the same ingredients, and blend it up, now you've got blended funds. They lose their identity. So if you're confused about that, give us a call, give your TA a call, or any of our experts, but also just think of it that way. When you're talking to your experts, when you're talking to your CSFO, anybody in your program, what's the difference in braiding and blending, and how do we do that? And they lay that out very well in Tuscaloosa. And in wrapping up, I just want to remind everybody, we've covered a lot today, and we will send this out in Erica's newsletter, a recap of everything. Lindsay, thank you for being on, and everybody that contributed. Dr. French, we're so grateful forever to you. And it is imperative that we get our timely reporting in with our monthly expenditures, and there's no more cash advancements. So please make sure you pay attention to those 2 key points that came out from our evaluation. We appreciate all you do. We look forward to coming out to your sites and seeing you this summer. Have a good afternoon.